I'm Jason Druker, the Chief Commercial Officer at SFC Capital. And I want to thank you from the outset for joining us today because we're about to go on a really exciting journey. And it's reflective of the journey that SFC Capital itself has been on since its incorporation and inception 12 or so years ago. We're here today because we're excited to announce that SFC has now invested in its 500th portfolio company under the SCIS and EIS investment schemes here in the UK. We've recorded some interviews with some of the most exceptional founders in the UK's startup and scale-up ecosystem. These are the very people that genuinely are changing the world of technology, medical science, and sustainability. And we've recorded these podcasts in advance, and in a moment, we'll throw to each of those founders and ask them what their journey has been like and where they are going next. So without further ado, let's go into the first one, which is with Riham Satti of MeVitae. So I'm really excited to kick all of this off, and I'm joined today by Riham Satti from MeVitae. Now, MeVitae is a really exciting business all on its own without any SFC involvement, but it's extra exciting because Riham and her co-founder Vivek and the MeVitae team are effectively the OGs, the original gangsters of SFC Capital's investment funds, in particular our SCIS Angel Fund. And in fact, it's Angel Fund 1 that made a first investment in MeVitae all the way back in 2018. We've been following on in pretty much every single funding round since then, watching the team grow and excel. And we're excited, of course, for what's to come. And I could talk for hours, but nobody wants to hear from me. We want to hear from you, Riham. So Riham, could you just give us a short overview of what MeVitae is all about, what you do, but also kind of the purpose, vision, values, and mission that are behind what gets you up every morning?
Absolutely. Firstly, thank you so much for having me. And the OG statement, I've got a tall order to follow now, so no pressure on me. Thanks, Jason. Let me tell you a bit about what we do. So MeVitae have got a very simple vision. Create fairness in the workplace. Fairness means different things to different people, and it's not easy to kind of achieve that goal, right? But for us, it means the ability to identify and rectify people risks. So let me delve a bit further into what that means. So HR is a very, very fragmented world. And what we do is we plug into multiple HR systems and aggregate lots of HR data, everything from screening, performance, pay, and we analyze all of that data, and it allows us to understand where potential risks lie in an organization. So this could be compliance, legislative imbalances, or potential biases. And then we have different interventions, we call them, that counteract those. Could be anonymized recruiting, screening, parsing. And it allows us to be able to help organizations make smarter, faster, and fairer decisions, in essence. And so at the backbone of everything is tied to that concept of fairness, of making sure that organizations are building talent that is important to them, but making sure that doing it in the most fair way possible. And to tie in a bit of the values, we've got a few areas that's kind of fundamental for us. So empathy, inclusivity, belonging, and innovation, I'd say, are our key values in our organization. And that's down to kind of the backbone of how we built the company from the ground up. And I believe that every person in our team instill all of those values.
Fantastic. Maybe you could take me back to the really early days about how the business really was born, who was involved, who was there. I'm not just fishing for compliments, of course, but we were there too. And it was, I think, Stephen Page who was instrumental in seeing that first investment happen. So take us back to the early days, and in particular, how various funding rounds, SFC backed and otherwise, have helped you.
Absolutely. I remember the first time I met Stephen Page, and actually Joseph was there as well. We were in your offices and had a PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully my design skills have improved since then. And the PowerPoint presentation was around making better decisions. It's still the same ethos, the same values. And I remember talking at Joseph and at Stephen. Vivek, the co-founder, was there as well. And we were discussing what we do, what we believed in. And that's when SFC led our investment round in 2018. And Stephen Page joined our board meetings and added so much value and contributions to that. And we have, I think, one of the biggest strengths at our company is the board. The value of the insights of our board members. We've got Dhiraj Mukherjee from Shazam, Jeff Hughes from Microsoft, Simon Samuel, a HR guru, I would say, right? And since then have new board members as well. And that's been absolutely tremendous. Looking back, and it makes me feel old actually when we talk about going back, Jason, we founded the company. I met my co-founder, Vivek, and this is when we were in Oxford. I was doing my academic research and he was studying computer science. Had no interest in entrepreneurship at all. It's weird saying that, right? Because I always kind of had these different vision statements of what people or entrepreneurs would look like. And I was like, I don't feel like I fit like any of those at all. And I've realized that entrepreneurship is actually being a jack of all trades, master of none. And so we started dabbling and kind of experimenting and pivoting in different topics and stumbled around the world of HR. And that was actually a very interesting story in itself. It was when Vivek was looking for a job at the time. And we thought, okay, maybe we can try and get him a job at Microsoft. That was the initial story. So we built this kind of CV kind of builder and we put it on the Microsoft Windows Store and it got rejected. So we thought, okay, fine. And then we opened it up to the market. We had about 50,000 downloads in about a couple of weeks and it was climbing 100 a day. Next thing you know, we get called from Microsoft. Can you come over to the Thames Valley office, please? And I was like, okay, sure, if you say so. And that's when we actually started looking at the market and just realized how fragmented it really, really is. And behind all of the decision making is human brains, right? And being a neuroscientist and specialized in that, you realize that sometimes we make optimal decisions and sometimes we do not. And emotional decisions can sometimes impact those quite substantially. And so that's where we kind of set off on that journey to try and create that fairness in the workplace. And when we at the time when we came to SFC, we actually got our first clients. And we were so excited. Okay, revenue, we've got revenue now. And it's been a whirlwind experience ever since then. We've learned, we've grown the team and really excited to what we do next. And it comes down to the fantastic team, but also the board. He said Stephen Page, Gerard, Simon, Jeff, who've been there from kind of that get-go.
Awesome. I think if there was one not even correction I would make, it's to say jack of all, not master of none. It's master of some. Right?
I'll take that, Jason.
You start with none. And then over the last 7 years, I can attest because we've been close. You've been moving into mastership in a lot of really interesting ways. And I think maybe it's on that topic that we could kind of switch gears and look forward. And you could tell me a little bit about what's next for MeVitae, particularly as we're heading into 2025 in just a few weeks' time.
Absolutely. I'm excited for 2025, actually, because it's going to be a very, very exciting period. One of the most important things that we learned over kind of our timeline at MeVitae is the power of growing and making sure that our clients are happy from a customer experience perspective. And because we're very, very partnership driven in our organization, and most of our partners are US based, therefore, on the back of that, a lot of our clients are US based. So about 70% of our clients are across the pond. And therefore, for us, the next expansion is opening up the office in the US, hiring our first US kind of team, especially the commercial team. So that's why Vivek and I were in the States for a couple of months, for about a month and a half, just learning the lay of the land, where we're going to set up the office, how we're going to do it, who do we need to hire, meeting up with investors, partners. So actually that expansion plan, it makes no sense for us to have most of our revenue in the US and not have an office there. So we're really excited to kind of set that up and all the wheels are in motion now for that. So that's going to be an exciting period for 2025.
Wow. So we've heard of the British are coming, but now it's MeVitae.
MeVitae is coming. We're here.
Excellent. Amazing. So listen, let's bring this to a close. Shame as that may be, but I have one other question for you. And it's a very broad, slightly philosophical one. So take it in whatever way you like and whatever direction you prefer. What are you most proud of?
That's an easy answer for me. It's the team. It is the absolute MeVitae team. Without them, we would not be having this conversation. Without them, we wouldn't have products that are out there in the market. Without them, we wouldn't be keeping our clients happy. Without them, we wouldn't have the culture, these values that we talked about at the very, very beginning. And I am forever indebted to that team. And so that is the most thing that I am proud of at MeVitae.
That's awesome. And listen, from our side at SFC Capital, we feel the same way. I always say when you invest early, pre-seed to Series A, you're not really investing in product or technology or market or opportunity or any particular aspect of those things. It's about the team and in particular, make you blush. It's about the founders. So thank you for all of your efforts, and to Vivek for all of his. And thank you for joining us today. And we're really looking forward to what 2025 has to bring.
Thank you so much, Jason.
So up next, I'm really excited because we have a founder that SFC first invested in this side of 2020. Phil Smith is the co-founder and CEO of 4D Medicine, also known as 4D Biomaterials, which is a medtech company focusing on a proprietary resorbable material for medical applications. Now, I will not try and explain what that means because we've got Phil here and he can do a far better job of that than I can. But what I'm excited about is that SFC followed on its investments since 2020, pretty much every year thereafter. So Phil, before we go any further, first up, thank you so much for joining us on the SFC 500 podcast. Can I throw to you and ask you, what does 4D do? What is it all about? And what's the purpose, the vision, values, and mission of the company, please?
Well, we manufacture a new class of chemicals that degrade when implanted into the body. So you can make a degradable medical implant that does its job and then disappears.
That's fascinating. So if I'm reading that right, and of course I have a little bit of background knowledge because, as I said, we've written more than a few investment committee memos together. You could, and perhaps are, creating something out of nothing to implant into the body, provide itself for a purpose, and then effectively disappear in the body as if it was never there, having had a positive impact on a person or their injury.
Exactly. Yeah. Medical implants are usually, obviously there are some medical implants that you want to be permanent, like a knee replacement or a hip replacement. You don't want those to degrade. You want those to stay there. But there are other things that you put in the body that are there to do a temporary job. And you don't want to have to take them out afterwards. And you don't want them to hang around causing problems, side effects, complications, and so on. So in many cases, it's better to implant something that does a job and then degrades away, disappears, is absorbed by the body, and then excreted through normal metabolic processes. And then the patient recovers and hopefully lives a healthy life thereafter.
Fantastic. Phil, what's the origin story of 4D? Where does it come from and who's been involved all the way through?
So the origin is with the Professor Andrew Dove, who is the one of the leading experts in degradable polymers in the world. Andrew was working at Warwick University about 17 years ago, had the vision of wanting to develop a better material for these applications, because the existing materials that have been around for decades, they do a good enough job in many situations, but they have a number of shortcomings, and those shortcomings limit what you can do with them.
Interesting. So the business is a spin out from the University of Warwick, and I think also from an involvement with the University of Birmingham. And I must declare a conflict of interest because I'm also a graduate from the University of Birmingham. So clearly they've gotten more than one thing right in the last 20 odd years. But I think what's exciting about that, and when I try and think of it in the context of SFC Capital, is it reminds me that, we've gotten to 500 portfolio companies, which is fantastic. But along the way, we have invested in, I think, something like a dozen university spinouts pretty much every year for the last 5 years. So we find that a lot of, the question I get from investors all the time is, where do you find all this deal flow, let alone, doing 100 investments a year or getting to 500 portfolio companies? Where do you find it? Where does it come from? And of course, the universities are a big part of that. Would you speak to that as a huge part of the story of 4D as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We were very fortunate in that I started working with Andrew Dove in December 19, and there was an Innovate UK grant that was on offer, but they had struggled to find match funding up to that point. I got involved, and I think someone at Birmingham introduced us to SFC. I had a conversation with one of your predecessors. I ended up being on holiday in a ski resort and having to pitch to your team from the cafe at the bottom of the ski resort, but it was successful. We got together with friends and family that we'd put together, backing from SFC that enabled us to unlock that Innovate UK grant. So it gave us a really good launch pad just as COVID hit. So actually, had we not got that money at that time, it could have actually been the fatal blow for the company. It's a good technology, so it may well have surfaced in good time. But at that time, that involvement from SFC was critical in keeping that grant alive and enabling us to get started just before COVID hit.
That's fantastic. I think a lot of good business gets done at the bottom of the ski slope. Usually it involves raclette and red wine, as I'm told, but we'll come to that maybe another time. Are there any other key milestones, Phil, that when you think about the last 4 or so years of 4D's journey and you think of SFC's involvement that you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, I think the continuing investment has been very helpful. The invitation to come and speak at some of your Crocodile's Lair events has been very welcome and welcoming. And we've spoken to other people at those events that have invested as well, both directly and through SFC. So I think that support has also validated us in the eyes of other investors. And I think your backing, as also SFC's grown in status, that backing and validation gives us more profile. So I think it's a virtuous circle that continues to roll.
Absolutely. Yeah. And listen, I can say from personal experience as being an observer on your board that we've gained and been involved, quite a lot and learned so much, but hopefully added some value along the way as well. Let's think about that initial investment from SFC back in 2020. How has the tech and the team at 4D Medicine developed since that time?
Well, that was an embryonic stage where we had the founder and myself coming together, the brilliant academic, and the guy that's been there from the business side, and starting with that's all we had. So it's like, how do we build the organization from there? And there was a series of serendipitous moments, really, which you could very rarely plot in advance because it's like networks coming in to help, Imagine starting in April 2020, COVID's hit, the labs at Birmingham University that you're planning to use, you can't use because they're shut. Where do we go? Where do we start? Do we just wait until COVID passes? No, I was talking to an old friend of mine who also has a PhD in polymer chemistry who was interested in what we were doing. He's based in Nottingham. To cut a long story short, he joined us, was able to find labs that were open in Nottingham. So he was able to set up and run those labs. And that couldn't have happened without SFC's money and the grant that it unlocked. That money, the combination of the SFC investment and the grant, meant that we were able to employ that guy for the first 6 months and start our work in those labs. So that meant that we were able to get started and it avoided any delay. And as you know, speed is a vital thing for a spin out or a startup. So to be able to hit the ground running, use those monies, and then build from there, get the equipment in those labs, start to transfer the technology out of the university into our own labs, scale it up, start to recruit other people, other chemists, other material scientists, and then build a team. We also recruited a 3D printing expert through another fortuitous network connection, happened to live in the same town as me of 5,000 people in Derbyshire. Never knew him before, but knew of him. Turns out he's one of the sort of veteran 3D printing gurus of the world. So we pretty quickly built a critical team that was able to then start taking this information out to the world through trade events in Germany and the US, and very quickly validate that this technology was something the world wanted.
Fantastic. Good things happen in Derbyshire, right?
Quite a few good things.
Derbyshire aside, Phil, you've been there, done that, got more than a few t-shirts hanging in the wardrobe. If I'm not wrong, probably alongside cycling shirts as well. What advice would you give to founders who are at the growth stage, so out of the seed stage, at that growth stage, and are looking to attract more investment?
I think starting with the end in mind is one of those Stephen Covey statements that I always come back to. I think if you've got a very clear sense of what your destination is, that always helps, because I think that logically informs most of the answers to most of your other questions. And I think another big part is validation. If you're the only people saying this is a great thing, people are going to be looking at you thinking, quizzical. If you can say, we think this is a great thing, but so does A, B, C, D, And if those people are authoritative players in the industry, people, in our case, we were very fortunate to get an acquisition offer coming in before our third birthday from a leading international materials company. That was fantastic validation that would speak louder, really, than anything I could say, because obviously I'm going to say that because I'm, CEO of the company. So I think having that validation, whether it's in our case through a company that's trying to make an acquisition of you, or through a series of KOLs who are experts in your field, and therefore they can validate what you're saying as being not only correct, but important. Answering that so what question, if you've got people who can help you answer that so what question and say, yeah, this does matter. Yes, it's real. What they're doing is valid and there's a big market for it. If you can answer those questions, then I think you're on the way to attracting investment.
Fantastic. So for our final question or final thought, let's move a little bit from the head towards the heart. And I am going to ask you a so what question. I'm going to ask you this. So what are you most proud of about 4D, where you've come from and where you and the team and the business are going next?
I'm really proud that this technology and this team have, in just over 4 years, already attracted the amount of attention that we have from the world of 3D printing and the world of biomaterials. But more so than that, I'm really proud and excited about the potential that we have to really improve medicine for people that need implants that do a job and disappear. The fact that we can expand the availability of materials to solve problems that up until now weren't possible to solve, whether that be at nanoscale, microscale, or large scale in drug delivery, soft tissue, or orthopedics. There's so much stuff that this material can do. It is the most exciting thing that I've done in my career. And obviously, you can see I'm not at the beginning of that. It's quite a long career. So it does definitely top the list of all the things I've done for excitement, satisfaction. And I hope that in the fullness of time, this technology will fulfill its promise. And that will be resulting in the quality of lives of people around the world.
Yeah, I echo that. I hear, really. We feel exactly the same way at SFC. And Phil, it's been a pleasure to speak with you today, as it always is. I want to thank you and the team for everything you do 24/7, 365 for 4D. And if there's not enough numbers and letters in that sentence, that I don't know what is. And now taking a cue from you, I'm going to do a job and disappear. But thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you to SFC for your support, your continuing encouragement, and your positivity as well.
Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Jason.
Now I'm really excited to be joined by a founder of one of SFC's most recent investments. In fact, it's a very special investment because it's our 500th portfolio company investment. Antoinette Oni is the co-founder of Agreka Build, a business creating regenerative and circular natural fiber insulation. Agreka Build received investment from SFC very recently. So we're recording in December of 2024, and the company was funded by SFC and others, which we'll hear about, as recently as October. So just 2 months ago. So without further ado, Antoinette, please give us a short overview of what Agreka Build does, your purpose, vision, values, and mission.
Hi, Jason. Thank you so much for the introduction. So yes, my name is Antoinette Oni. I'm the founder of Agreka Build, a pioneering team that transforms agricultural waste into construction materials. Our flagship product is a wheat straw-based thermal insulation board made entirely from waste wheat straw, so there's no synthetic binders or additives.
Fantastic. And you can see why it's just such a great thesis fit with what SFC always looks to do from its SCIS funds. So Antoinette, can you talk us through what the investment process was like for you and your co-founder and the team? Maybe take us back to January when things really got started, and then incorporation a few short months afterwards, all the way through to really kicking off the round in September and then closing it in October.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been quite an interesting journey. We met as a team in January through Imperial College's Climate Entrepreneurs Club Pre-Accelerator program, which is a 10-week program. And at the end of that, we actually won a pitch competition and won a cash prize sponsored by Climate VC. And then we incorporated the company in April. We were then building up the company, aggressively looking for investment, joined a series of accelerators at the University of London, Creative Business Accelerator, as well as Ascend, which is through Foundervine. And actually through that, we were then introduced to SFC Capital. And from there, obviously the due diligence process, a pitch, which then meant money in the bank by October. And we had actually also been awarded the Innovate UK Smart Grant, which has a 3% success rate. So that was incredible within the same week. And then One Planet Capital also joined through SEIS investment. And this unlocked the funds that we need in order to realize product launch and manufacturing in 2025. So it's been an incredible journey, an incredible year.
That's incredible. So from meeting in January at Imperial, and if I'm not wrong, actually, neither you nor your co-founder, Mei-Lin, are from Imperial. So probably one of the first non-Imperial co-founding teams to win a competition at Imperial. So from January to incorporating in April to getting in touch with SFC through Ascend in September to money in the bank in October. And here we are in December. So I guess from that, I can't help but ask, what impact has the investment had for the business so far?
Yeah, great question. So we're using that fund to actually set up manufacturing in the UK. So I should say that in the same week that we got confirmed SEIS investment from SFC, we were also awarded the Innovate UK Smart Grant as well to develop our prototype, R&D and set up manufacturing in the UK. And so that fund is going towards that. We're on the verge of securing a space and our project start date is January 1st. So it's very fast moving, but yeah, really exciting times.
So as we look ahead and in particular into the new year, which is around the corner as we're recording, what does 2025 hold for Agreka Build?
Yeah, so for the new year, we will be exhibiting at Future Build, London at the Excel Centre in the first week of March. So keep an eye out for that. We will also be implementing our material in a series of live build projects. And our product launch is scheduled for Q4 2025. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for our materials.
Awesome. Absolutely amazing. What would be your message, therefore, after this incredible, truncated, but really successful experience to other founders who are also looking to raise their first investment, as you mentioned, under SEIS or indeed under EIS?
So my advice would be to invest in your team, build a really strong team of strong people that you work well with, who all bring amazing things to the table, whether that be expertise, an area of knowledge, passion, experience. So Agreka Build would not be what it is without the incredible work of Mei-Lin, my co-founder, Ming, our technical lead, and all the amazing advisors and support network that we have. Additionally to that, I would say invest also in a really good idea and product. So I believe Agreka Build has also had such success in a short amount of time because the timing is just right. The policy landscape is really favorable and the market is ready for a product like ours. So that would be my advice.
Awesome. I think that really resonates with me and I think with SFC's outlook as well. What I'm often caught saying on panels and to founders and other investor groups is that we don't really invest in tech or in product or in market size or any of those things. We're a pre-seed to Series A investment fund. And so we're investing in team. It comes down to the founders and the team that they are surrounded with. Because really a great team with an iffy idea can still, with good funding, find its way. And in the case of Agreka Build, a great team with a great idea is a great recipe. So with that in mind and feeling very optimistic, just one final question, Antoinette. And it's a very broad one, so take it in whatever direction you wish. What are you most proud of?
Wow, that's a really great question. I would say I'm most proud of the team that I've managed to build. I'm proud of the fact that we've really stuck to our original vision and mission, which was to create materials that are better for the health of people and planet. And we've not compromised on that, whether that be with the product or even the way we run our company as well. There's just integrity at the heart of it. And we're really coming and developing a quality product that really sticks to and realizes that original mission. So I'm really, really proud of the team and what we're doing.
Fantastic. Look, for the record, so are we. We are proud of your team as well, and really excited to look back in 12, 18 months, 2 years time and see where SFC's 500th portfolio company has got to. So Antoinette, thank you so much for your time. I know you've had to take time out away from changing the world, building the business, and keeping the cash runway going as well. So very grateful for that. And to anybody watching and listening, thank you for your time as well.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much.